Okay? Is it working?
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, Shabbat Shalom.
Good. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Feinstein.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Gelman. And good morning to everyone who's sitting at home, hopefully in your pajamas with a warm cup of coffee and a Danish, enjoying Torah study this morning. I have to say, Rabbi Gelman, that in 40 years of being a rabbi, this is the first time in my career I ever asked people not to come to shul.
I know.
And they actually listened to me this time. So we hope that everyone is staying safe and staying well. And we hope that this crisis passes relatively quickly and painlessly for everyone. Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate the instructions, we have canceled all of the public events here at Valley Beth Shalom, as have most synagogues across the country and so many churches and other institutions. And we're urging people to stay close to home, to be very careful about sanitizing their hands, washing hands and sanitizing, and trying to slow the spread of this disease so that we can take good care of each other, particularly for older folks and folks with compromised immune systems and health. It's very important to be very careful at this point. So we're glad to be together. We'll do Torah study this morning, and over the course of the week we'll have announcements about other things that we're broadcasting. Beginning on Monday, VBS is going to be broadcasting something almost every day. I'm going to be doing a series of children's stories, bedtime stories. We'll post those. There'll also be some lectures from the rabbis. Herschel's going to be offering a Yiddish class, a very short Yiddish word for the day. I think he's going to start with oy vey, and each day you'll be able to learn a new Yiddish phrase and a little bit of Yiddish. The cantors will be posting some music. So we're calling it Valley Beth Shalom at home. Well, Valley Beth stay home, so that you can participate with the synagogue online. And we hope that everyone stays well. So I want to welcome Rabbi Gelman, who has braved the infectious elements to come out this morning and to share with me. And Douglas Workman is here to share with us the joy of learning Torah. So let's begin with something that's not in the Torah, particularly this morning. The mitzvah, the commandment in the tradition, that one is prepared to compromise every mitzvah of the Torah, all of the commandments, all of the structures of Jewish life, save three: murder and adultery and idolatry, in order to save a life. We call it Peacock Nefesh. We'll talk about that for just a minute. Where does that mitzvah come from?
Well, the Peacock Nefesh idea is really not the one that's applicable here. It's the one everyone knows. Everyone knows you should save someone, even if it involves violating a law. You have to eat on Yom Kippur. In 1848, Israel Salanter, the head of the founder of the Musar movement, ate a piece of challah during the
on the bima.
On the bima,
because
right?
There was a cholera epidemic, right?
And so that was his way of showing that even fasting on Yom Kippur has to yield to saving a life. But saving a life is to save another life. It includes you, but there are three specific psukim, three verses in the Torah, which the rabbis used, and none of them were Peacock Nefesh. Peacock Nefesh sort of evolved like Tikkun Olam. It's when you know almost nothing about Jewish law, you know those two things. The real, actual verses that are cited, and the verses, for example, that authorize performing medical treatments on people and prohibiting certain behaviors. There's three: V'nishmartem, Hishamer Lecha, and Chai Bahem. So if you turn first to Deuteronomy 4:9, that's on page 1008 of our Chumash, but it's Deuteronomy 4:9 in every Torah in the world. Rak hishamer lecha ushmor nafshecha ma'od. That's the verse. It says, take utmost care and watch yourselves scrupulously. So it's a general verse. It doesn't refer to a specific thing that you have to do. But precisely because it's general, it was taken by the rabbis as the verse that commands us. It's one of the Taryag mitzvot, v'nishmartem, that commands us to protect our lives, to take care of ourselves, and to not do anything that threatens our life. Now, in the interpretations of v'nishmartem and the other two, there's a lot of difference of opinion. There's some very, very strong criticism of the Orthodox rabbinic tradition, the strongest criticism of any law that the Orthodox rabbinate ever supported was that the Orthodox rabbinate violated v'nishmartem by not prohibiting smoking. And in the yeshiva world, it's a very big deal because these are the gedolim, these are the great ones. And once it was clear, you could say, well, in the Middle Ages, they thought smoking was actually a health benefit. But once they knew that smoking caused cancer, there was no question you couldn't smoke.
Right.
But they refused to put an isur on it, a prohibition for yeshiva kids, till today.
Why?
Well,
What was their logic?
when I was in Mir Yeshiva studying, and my friend Moshe Tendler from Yeshiva University explained it to me, that they didn't want, the principle was, it is a mitzvah to teach people what can be learned. It is also a mitzvah not to teach people what cannot be learned. And their point was,
Yeah.
we will undermine
Yeah.
our authority on everything
Yeah.
if we take a stand there. So the second law, let's just finish the three.
Yeah.
Hishamer lecha is Deuteronomy 4:15. So it's right there, just turn the page. And there you have, v'nishmartem ma'od l'nafshetechem.
Yeah.
And for your own sake, therefore, be most careful, which is really repeating v'nishmartem in its general sense. And then the third is Leviticus 18:5. That's page 688 in our Chumash here. 18:5 is Ushmartem et chukotai ve'et mishpatai asher yasetam adam
V'chai
v'chai behem.
Yeah.
Live by them.
Live by
and
them.
then the interpretation is don't die by them.
Right.
So the idea is if the mitzvahs lead you to do something that hurts you, that's violating chai behem. So those are the three, not so much Peacock Nefesh, but nishmartem. Now, they may also violate your decision to go skiing. I believe it does. It may also violate your decision to go surfing or to do bungee jumping. There's all sorts of risky behaviors that people do because it gives them pleasure. But it violates those laws. So that's where we are.
So let's go back for just a second. There's a theology here in the Torah, which we, of course, have trouble with, but there's a theology in the Torah that if bad things happen to you, it's because God is punishing you.
That's correct.
And the response ought to be that you ought to do repentance, you ought to do tshuva,
Right.
Clean yourself from your sins. God will then favor you and remove whatever curse you have been living under. So what's the justification of medicine? It would seem that one could say, well, if you're in pain, if you're sick, God has punished you, and the solution is not penicillin, the solution ought to be tshuva.
Right.
But we've always had a deep commitment to the practice of medicine, and through medicine, we've had a deep commitment to the practice of empirical sciences.
Exactly. And that teaches to me, and I taught to students, the biggest lesson of the halacha. And that is, the halacha is not the place we stop reasoning. Maimonides knew that. There is above the halacha, and this is what the conservative and reform movements have both founded on, above the halacha, the collection of Jewish laws, there is a philosophical architecture of belief. And that philosophical architecture of belief creates the laws. The laws are meant to further these beliefs. And one of the beliefs, one of the most primary beliefs, is the belief that life is sacred. So any law that allows people to die is against the sacredness of life. And although, the Adventists and other Christian groups have taken in their views about blood transfusions and others, they've taken the position that you just articulated. Who are we to interfere with God's plan? That he's punishing us for our sins. Judaism said there's these three mitzvahs, v'nishmartem, hishamer lecha, and chai b'hem, and on those bases, Maimonides, a physician, authorized medical treatments. And it has been unquestioned since he did that. Unquestioned. Even though you could say it conflicts with the other view, and it does. But what it teaches us is that the halacha isn't the last word. It's our beliefs that are the last word.
Right. So there's a hospital in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, called Shari Tzedek, which is an Orthodox hospital. Right. I mean, it's run by the Orthodox community. It observes, of course, laws of orthodoxy. But if you think for just a moment whether Orthodox hospital ought to be an oxymoron, because if you come in with a problem, they should give you Tillim. They shouldn't give you. They should make you recite Psalms instead of giving you surgery. But the idea that somehow you're permitted to fight back suffering and fight back death in the name of God, even though it violates against this notion that you're being punished.
Right. And when I debate Orthodox Jews, and I say, look, I love your rigor, I love your loyalty, your discipline, but I do not love the fact that you have no way to critique the laws you've inherited. You can tweak them here and there, and that's what a posek, a Jewish Orthodox judge would do, but you don't really ever stand back and say, is this law wrong? Is this law wrong? There's all sorts of examples of that. And if it's true that there are beliefs that are above the laws, then conservative Judaism is true and Reform Judaism is true.
Right.
We have a foundation now to stand and say, all we're saying is, let us evaluate every mitzvah based on our beliefs.
So one of the examples of this, by the way, which I thought was very stunning, this week with the advent of this, the arrival of this virus. So there was a message sent. I saw the first version of it sent to the Orthodox communities in Bergen County, New Jersey, and then there was a version of the same message with much of the same wording sent here to the Orthodox communities of West LA, signed by all the Orthodox rabbis, which said, out of Peacock Nefesh, out of Hishamer Lecha, Nishmartem v'Hishamer Lecha, don't come to shul. And they said, we know that it's a higher mitzvah to daven in a minyan, but this is a better one. So they've asked all of the Orthodox communities of West LA and of New Jersey, New York, to stay home, daven at home, read the Parser and the Chumash. And it was an extraordinary statement of there's certain higher values here at work here.
Higher than Kaddish.
Yeah.
Higher than Kaddish. Think of that.
It's a remarkable thing. So thank you. Thanks for that. Let's move to the Parsha for this week.
Okay.
The Parsha for this week is Ki Tisa. And as we outlined last week, Ki Tisa comes at the end of the book of Exodus. It's squeezed in between four Parshiot, the two Parshiot, Truma and Tetzaveh, which give Moses the advice, the guidance, the commandment, and the design of the Mishkan, of the holy precincts, of the tabernacle, of the ark, of the covenant, and then the two Parshiot, Vayakel Pekude, where he actually builds it. I'm on 539. We're going to take a look at Exodus 33 today. In that section of law, and they're mirror images of each other. Truma and Tetzaveh give him the commandment. Vayakel Pekude, he carries them out. that makes 4 parshiot, which describe the creation of the first Jewish institution, where God will live among the people and follow the people wherever they go. It's a remarkable kind of idea in itself. Squeezed in there is this parsha called Ki Tisa, which contains the story of the golden calf, which we talked last week about as a sort of warning. Be very careful when you build institutions. Be very careful when you elevate symbols, that you don't end up worshiping the institution and the symbol instead of what it's supposed to refer to. That was what we talked about that last week. The argument between Ki Tisa and the surrounding parshiot. Even Rashi and the traditional Meforshim say that it doesn't belong here. The story actually belongs earlier, but they squeezed it in here for this purpose. The remarkable conversation within biblical ideas. I want to follow the next piece, because there's a sequel to that story, which is extraordinary. So basically the story is that when Moses comes down the mountain, he tosses down the tablets, he grinds up the calf and makes the people drink it. He instructs the Levites to go to war against the rebels. They kill thousands of people. And then Moses castigates the people, sets his own tent outside of the community of the people, and God comes to Moses and says, all right, that's it. I'm not going with you no more. I'll send an angel. The angel will take you across the desert. The angel will give you the land. But I'm not going, because this people isn't a place, among this people isn't a place I can live. And then Moses rebels. Moses says to God, you don't go, I don't go.
Right, and it's an even greater sacrifice, because God is offering Moses the chance to have a people named after him.
After him. And Moses said, kill me here.
Right.
I'm not going to see this. I set out to complete a mission. You have to be with us on this mission. And God relents. Interesting. God changes his mind, you know.
Well, that has happened.
No, but it's interesting.
Don't you think this is Moses' highest moment?
Well, we're about to get to that. And then when God relents and says, okay, I'll go with you, Moses then turns to God, as it were, and asks the question we've been waiting for the whole Torah. He says to God, who are you?
What do you look like?
Who are there's 2 different versions of it. One of them is, if you're in the Chumash, it's on page 538. It's chapter 33, verse 12. Right? Vayomer Moshe el Adonai, Re'eh ata omer elai ha'ele. You said to me, lead this people, but you've not made known to me whom you'll send with me. And you said, I singled you out. Look at verse 13. V'atayim na matzati chen beinecha, hodieni na darkecha. If I've gained your favor, let me know your ways, that I may know you. I'll know you. I want to know you. And then a little bit later, he asks the question in even stronger version. If you look at verse 18 on the next page, Vayomer hareini nat kvodecha. Show me your kavod. Show me, it's translated here, your presence. Kavod means weight, honor.
Let me see you.
Essence. I want to know who you are.
Right. But in a special way.
But it's what's remarkable is it's the question we've been waiting for the whole Torah, because the Torah is so completely unself-conscious about introducing God. It just, in the first page, Breshit bara Elohim, there he is. There's God, right? And all through the Torah, people are talking to God, and nobody ever asks themselves, who's talking? No one ever stops and says, who are you? What are you? Where did you come from? What is your nature? What are you like? What can I expect of you? Even Moses at the burning bush, which is where you would have expected this question to come. When God says, I'm the God of your ancestors, Moses doesn't say, who are you? Moses says, when I go to the people and they ask me who you are, what am I supposed to tell them? That you and I know as rabbis, it's very hard to talk to Jews about theology. So if you ever want to talk to Jews about theology, you give a lecture on how to talk to your children about theology, right? How to tell your children about God.
Right.
And lots of people will come to that talk because it's safe, you know? If I'm only coming to hear about how to keep my kids about God, and then in the corner of their minds, it's always like, tell me. Here's Moses at the burning bush. He doesn't ask the question. All through the drama of the 10 plagues, he doesn't ask the question. He crosses the Red Sea, doesn't ask the question. Finally, something about this moment, when God changes his mind and says, okay, I'm going to go with you. Moses says, wow, who are you? And it's almost like the revelation that we've just had, the revelation on Mount Sinai, chapter 19, the quaking mountain, the 10 commandments. God comes down the mountain and talks to Moses in front of the people. Even that wasn't enough. Because what was revealed there are these laws and traditions and rules. What wasn't revealed there was God's essence. Who is this God? And now Moses says, okay.
Well, there's a reason for that. That was a question of, could God reveal God's essence to the entire people?
Yeah.
The answer the people give immediately is, stop. No, we can't handle this. It's too much power. It's too much awe and shock and awe.
Yeah, right.
Moses, you take it. You talk to God. Come back to us and tell us what to do.
Right.
This is different.
Yeah.
This is one guy.
Yeah.
And it's Moses. And he has a right to answer the question, which is put in the text as, let me look at you. Let me behold your presence.
Right. Let me see what you
Okay, but is that really the question I would ask you?
No, the question is, who are you?
Who are you?
What are you like?
All right, and why ask that question?
Why ask that question now? I think why ask the question is obvious. It's the question we've been wanting to know since chapter 1.
What is your answer to why would you want to know God's presence?
You want to know who God is, what God is.
Why?
Because it's the greatest why question of all.
Why is it?
It's what every child wants to know.
Yes, so let's dig into that a little.
It's every kid will
Why
look at
is
you.
it, and I agree with you, why is it the biggest question? And I would answer that it's the biggest question because of the contradiction that Judaism has brought to the world about God. That contradiction is that an invisible God touches the visible world.
Okay.
How does that happen?
An infinite God touches the finite world.
Right.
An immaterial
How does
God
that happen?
touches the material world.
How does that happen?
Right. And a God from a whole nother plane of being tells us how to live life.
A creator God touches the created world.
Right.
How does that happen?
Right.
It's one thing, you see, the other religions of the world didn't have a problem. They, for example, Marduk and Ishtar and the Babylonian gods, they were in the world because they were really a part of the world. They only had a certain place where they lived. They controlled that place. They had a greatest aglia for Marduk, a pyramid where you worshipped him, and that's what they were. But our claim about God is so much more radical and so much more vast. So the question comes, how can an invisible God enter the world? And I believe that the answer ultimately that Maimonides brings is the only answer. That God enters the world through the insights of the brightest, most insightful theologians in the world. That just like we know about beauty through Beethoven and Mozart, we don't know about it through lesser composers as much. We know about God through the great theologians who say, this is the way it works. Now, the great solution that lasted 2,000 years was and came to Maimonides was not originated by Jews. It was originated by Aristotle. And his solution is, how does an infinite God enter the world, which for the Greeks was a huge problem, because an infinite God can't change. Change was defect for them. So God couldn't change at all, and yet the world changes, and God is in touch with the world. How does that happen? And for Aristotle, it was the result of the interaction of 10 spheres. 10 spheres. From an outer sphere, noesis noeosis, he called it, thought thinking itself. That's really all God is. And for Maimonides too. God is in its pure essence, in God's pure essence, is a thought. is a thought. But it's what he called an entelechy, which means a thought that can change the material world. It's not magic, but it's like magic. It's a thought that's so powerful that it can actually rearrange the world. But it can't touch the world because it's too pure. So what it does is it depurifies itself, if one can say, through 10 descending spheres, which are made up of ether, the quintessence, earth, air, fire, water, and the fifth essence of the ethereal realm is how we get that. And then down to the last realm, which is the realm of the moon. The sublunar world has the earth at the center. And that was why they thought the earth was the center of the universe. That Maimonidean idea that God sort of filters into the world is the greatest solution to this question that was ever made. And that was his solution, and that was Maimonides' solution, and it was Aquinas' solution. And for Christians, Jesus represents, in a way, one of those spheres. There were individuals who could travel from one sphere to another, and he was one of them. And that's what religious genius is. So that's the Aristotelian solution, and it works for me because I believe that Maimonides got it right. And he got it right because Aristotle got it right. Now, do I believe in the 10 spheres? No. But do I believe that the concept of God filtering into the world to a point where we can have some mistaken illusions about what God is like, but we can't ever get to the essence of God. That works for me. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But people are not okay with that. People want the plastic Jesus sitting on the dashboard of their car. And we want the Torah that we can touch with our tzitzis. We say that's God. And people look at you though. Kids in my shul said, "Rabbi, are you God?" Right. And I had to stop a moment, but I said, no. I eventually said no.
Very funny.
No, but people want a physical
something.
And we have been courageous in our highest iterations. Look at how the Rebbe is viewed by Chabad.
Yeah.
The Rebbe isn't viewed as a person. He's viewed as someone who came down.
A vessel, basically. It's a vessel of God into the world, right?
Yeah. So how does it work for you?
Yeah.
How do you answer that question to your satisfaction?
Yeah.
How does an invisible God touch a visible world?
Yeah, Douglas, you want to answer?
Ask a question.
Douglas is here with us.
From what Mark's saying, than the Schulweising view of the prayer when he adds the words "through me."
Yeah, I'll come to that in a second. I think that I have a different reading of Maimonides, and I'll tell you that one, because I think I have a different reading of the sugya here, of this section here, right? What are the two great questions that little kids ask us all the time? It's wonderful. I teach here in the synagogue all the time, and I spend a lot of time in the nursery school because I just happen to love little people. And as soon as they hit around 4 years old, they get words. And when they get words, they see the world, and they're just full of wonder. So the kid wants to know two great questions, right? How did that baby get into that lady? And how's it going to get out? And where did grandma go when she died? Which is life and death, right? Which are the two greatest mysteries.
They don't ask, where does God live?
They do. But first they want to know about, who am I? So I think that part of what Moses is asking isn't just to God, who are you? He's asking, who am I? He's asking, what is the nature of reality? What is, if you, God, are the creator of this, whatever that means, the origin of everything that is and the origin of me, what are you? What is the nature of my reality?
Okay.
Right?
So what works for you?
No, I'm coming to that. So and you and I have, as rabbis, have dealt with this all the time. I was at a funeral just yesterday. I do funerals all the time. You learn a whole lot about life from funerals.
Yeah.
And in fact, Harold, my teacher, used to say, Rabbi Shoyce used to say that he enjoyed weddings because they're fun, but he got a lot more out of funerals because you learn a lot more about people. And sometimes funerals can be very, very painful, difficult. And the question that presents itself at a funeral it presents itself whenever you and I have to go stand with somebody who's in real pain, and the world is so painful. Is the ultimate reality darkness, and life is just a happy biochemical accident? And we're just here for a blip in geological time, but time is basically an infinite emptiness? Or is the ultimate reality creativity, love, beneficence, goodness, and we're just vessels of that? And at a certain point, there's no empirical answer to that question. It really is sort of a choice in the question, the orientation you have toward the world that you live in. And the religious insight is to say that I don't believe that it's simply all darkness. If I have to choose which one is normative and which is the aberration, I'd rather believe that life is normative and death is the tragedy and not the other way around.
Even life after death.
Yeah, well then you get the question of, if life is what everything is, then there has to be something more after the death of a body, because a body is a pretty fragile container for real life, and that's where I end up with the same intuition that you have, the same belief you do about life. That there's got to be something else.
But back to the question of God entering the world.
Yeah. So here the question is, I think Moses is asking the question, and I'm instructed by the fact that he asks it twice. In the second version of the question is Hareini kvodecha, show me your essence. Show me what you are. The first version of the question is Hodiani na darkecha, show me your ways. Show me what you're made of. And then the Torah then has I'll come to the answer in a second. The Torah has a really interesting problem at this point. If you're the Torah storyteller, if you're the Torah writer, as it were, and the editor, what do you say? Even if Moses found the answer at this point, how can the writer portray in words to all of us what Moses experienced, what Moses discovered? Religious discoveries, religious revelations are so deeply personal and so deep, well, Heschel called them ineffable, where you can't describe them in words. So the poor writer has to say, now, oh my God, I've written myself into a corner. What am I going to say next? Because the next thing should be, God says, okay, here's what, if you're Einstein, you know what the next line is. It's about 100 pages of calculations. Here's what I am, right? Here's my essence. Energy, light, matter, in whatever. Maimonides gives us the theory of the spheres. But Maimonides, and here's where I just disagree. You described to us Aristotle, and you said Maimonides adopted Aristotle. Yes, but only half. Because he was also deeply affected by this.
Yeah.
He also was deeply affected by this. He was deeply affected by Hodiani darkecha, show me your ways. So what the Torah then does is really interesting. So it has a couple of answers. First, in chapter 33, he says, Hareini kvodecha, and God says, I'll make my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim to you the name of the Lord, and the grace that I grant, and the compassion that I show. So he sort of evades the question. I'm not going to tell you my essence, but I'll tell you how nice I am. I'll tell you how good I am. I'll share with you my goodness. And then we have the same thing on the next chapter, which is the big chapter in this narrative, chapter 34. If you look at beginning with verse 4, Moses carved 2 new tablets. He goes up to Mount Sinai. The Lord came down in a cloud. He stood with him there, and he proclaimed the name of the Lord. The Lord passed before him and proclaimed, God, Adonai, Adonai, Rachum v'chanun, God who is compassionate and loving and kind. Just before he said, I can't show you what I am, but I'll put you in the rock, and I'll pass before you, and you'll see my back and not my front. And the Torah abjectly refuses to tell you what he saw. He refuses to tell you what he saw. So I think what happens here is, I think Maimonides grasped that the Torah is not going to tell you the essence of God. It's not going to answer Aristotle's question. It's not going to give you any kind of metaphysics. It's only going to give you ethics. It's going to back away from metaphysics and only give you ethics. That's the Schulweis answer.
But the ethics are dependent upon a metaphysic.
It's dependent on one metaphysical proposition, that there is a God, right?
Well, two, really.
That
there is a God,
world.
and that God enters our world.
Is good.
Because Aristotle's God is the unmoved mover.
Yeah.
He doesn't enter the world.
Yeah.
But the results of his thinking, of its thinking,
Yeah.
are the world. Now, but the problem is,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this is an entirely satisfying answer, and I'll tell you why. I think what God is saying to Moses in a Aristotelian, Maimonidean sense is, look, you can't rise to the 10th sphere. There's no way for you to comprehend what that is even.
Right.
But what I can do is in your low sphere, I can give you the highest knowledge of me that you can get at your low sphere. And what is the highest knowledge of me that you can get at your low sphere? Be kind, be gracious as I am kind and gracious.
Yeah.
Do good things. Know that I am an ethical God and that somehow or other justice will prevail, life will prevail, and know that. And that's all that you need to know to live.
Right.
So what God is saying is, I know you want to understand more than you can, but this is as much as you can understand, and it is enough. It is enough.
That's interesting. It is enough is a very interesting proposition. So I wrote about this when I was writing about Rabbi Schulweis. I wrote about this a couple places, but Rabbi Schulweis's theology, one of the sources for his theology, the last page of the Guide for the Perplexed. Mm-hmm. So the Guide for Perplexed is the greatest book of Jewish philosophy ever written, and also the most complicated.
Indeed.
And the purpose of the Guide for the Perplexed is to take the student, his name is Joseph, and any of us who read him become Joseph, on a journey to know God. Because from Maimonides, to know God is the highest achievement of the human being, of the human life, of a human mind, to know God. And for Moses, Maimonides, for the Rambam, Moses' ascent up Mount Sinai is the metaphor for the philosophical journey to come to know God. And Moses climbs Mount Sinai, that's his metaphor, that's his symbol of the ascent of a human being, the rise of a human being, to know God, to fulfill his destiny, to fulfill his potential. And you get to the top of the mountain when God, as it were, comes down, and Moses knows God. Now, there's one problem in the story that Maimonides couldn't figure out. Why does Moses come down the mountain? If the mountain is the metaphor for the achievement, the self-actualization of a human being, why come down the mountain? Stay on the mountain. Stay with God. Stay in that place of philosophical contemplation. Stay in that place of philosophical purity. And you know, there are some afternoons when we would love to stay on the mountain, right? But you come down the mountain. Moses comes down the mountain, down to the people, down to their problems, down to their conflicts, down to their smallness, down to their appetites. Why come down the mountain? Right. And he waits to the... Go ahead. You want?
I was just going to interject. I think that's brilliant. And in fact, it puts into context my study of Buddhism and of Hinduism.
Yeah.
And because their answer is the exact opposite of our answer.
Yeah.
Their answer is the religiously completed person doesn't come down the mountain.
Yeah.
They stay there. And for Hinduism, it's moksha, release from the cycle of rebirth.
Yeah.
For Buddhism, it's nibbana, this state of bodhi, of enlightenment, bodhi. And that is their vision of the highest achievement. And that was, I think, that rejecting that idea is the genius of Judaism. It says we will produce certain people who can get high into the spheres and tell us what they're learning about God. But we are also an amcha, a people, and this people can't get that high.
Yeah.
Because masses can't get as high as geniuses.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Right.
And so that's what the law is about. And for Maimonides, that's what the law was.
So this is any form of monasticism, which says that to achieve your potential as a religious being, you have to withdraw from the world, right?
Well, maybe the Nazarite is a violation.
Well, that's the question.
With that one exception. You're right.
And there's
Any monastic
and there's a fight
not
within
Jewish.
Judaism. So Shimon Bar Yochai goes into his cave for 13 years,
Right.
and wants to run away from the ugly world of the Romans who murdered his teacher Rabbi Akiva, because he wants, and he gets angry that people are farming, and growing food and raising families because they're giving up the Torah, the Talmud's words. They're giving up life eternal, life for life temporal. Now, there's a beautiful Hasidic story, by the way, the same story. There's this one Hasidic master, one mystical master. And the mystical master is at home meditating. And his daughter leaves the baby in the other room, right, the grandkid. And the master is engaged in the deepest meditation. And he rises into the 7 heichalot, the 7 layers of heaven, and he arrives finally. It's the only time he's ever gotten into the highest of heaven, and he walks into God's throne room, and he's standing in front of Kadosh Baruch Hu, in front of God himself, and he's ready to engage God as he's waited his whole life to do. This is everything he wanted, and the baby starts crying in the other room. And he hears the baby crying with one ear, and there's God in front of him. And God looks at him and says, "Nu, boychik, what you going to do?"
And he picks the baby.
And the story, and the guy is torn for a minute because this is what he's waited his whole life to do. And God looks at him and shakes his head and says, "You better go take care of the kid." And the Rebbe comes down out of the Heichalot, down out of the meditation. He goes and takes care of the baby.
That's beautiful.
It's a wonderful
But
story.
let me ask you
But the beautiful part of the story is that God sends him back.
Yeah.
So here's the end of the story. So on the last page, the Guide for the Perplexed, as you know, is this god-awful monument of a book. On the last page, in the last paragraph, Maimonides waits for the last page, for the last paragraph, to give you the answer. And the answer is, he quotes a verse from Jeremiah. And he says, look, there's 4 perfections in life. The first perfection is the perfection of body, so you can be healthy. And the second perfection is the perfection of your circumstances in the world, wealth. And the third perfection is the perfection of morality and social morality. But the highest perfection, the only one that's worth following, is what we've talked about in the whole book, is the perfection of mind. And through the perfection of mind, you can arrive at the highest level and know God. And then he says, and that, in the verse in Jeremiah, the verse in Jeremiah, the prophet says, in order that you will know my ways of mishpat and tzedek and chesed. And Maimonides says, yeah, that's it. It's not simply to gain metaphysical knowledge of the essence of God. The ultimate perfection is to absorb those qualities and bring them back to the world.
Right. And that is the exact concept in Buddhism of what's called the bodhisattva.
Right.
The bodhisattva is a realized Buddha. He's completely free of all illusions.
Yeah.
And yet he comes back. He reincarnates back into this world of samsara, of conditionedness, and to teach people about what it takes to become emancipated.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Since we now have a dialectic, we have 2 sort of parallel paths in the history of Jewish thought. We have the law and the people and the ministrations to the people, and we've got all that.
Yeah.
And there are experts who do that better than others. But then there's that second strain, which is the Jewish theological, metaphysical geniuses. The geniuses who get high into the truth of the world and God. So in your list, let's do some lists. Who is on your list of Jewish bodhisattvas, of Moseses? It wasn't just Moses who did this. I mean, Moses was maybe the greatest, and certainly I'm adding Maimonides into it, but who else in your survey of Jewish thinkers and thought, who got higher up the mountain than any other Jews?
That's a very good question.
Just you and me.
Yeah.
I mean, our list.
Yeah.
Not right or wrong, just who do we think got high up?
No, they used to make all the list of ball players.
Yeah,
You know, yeah. So
yeah.
you get Ruth Gehrig,
Right,
Babe
exactly.
Ruth, and Lou
Hank
Gehrig,
Aaron,
and
don't forget my
Henry
Hank
Aaron,
Aaron.
and Roberto Clemente,
Absolutely.
and Koufax on the mound. And,
Koufax is way up there.
You know, Elston Howard catching.
So let's do that
No?
with Jewish thought. Who's up there?
Well, I mean, if you go,
Start in time.
you wanna-
Let's go back and then come
yeah,
forward.
I mean, Heschel for me is very powerful. Heschel stuff.
Heschel isn't on my list for this reason. Heschel was a great, inspiring, florid writer.
Yeah.
But he wasn't an inspiring thinker. He wasn't a systematic thinker.
Not systematic, but inspiring. I find him very inspiring.
Yeah,
and I find
okay.
him, and there is a system there, but it
All right,
it's,
he's on your list. He's not on my list.
okay. Give me one on your list.
On my list, Rosenzweig's on my list.
Good.
Because he combined thinking and questioning about God with a humility.
Okay, I would put Buber on the list. You know, things are.
Well,
I think
the problem with Buber is that he didn't follow the law.
Yeah, but see, there's
He
a
was
reason. I know he didn't follow the law, but I'm the conservative rabbi. But there is a law in Buber.
okay.
The law of dialogue.
Buber, I'll put on the list.
Okay, pick your turn.
Philo.
Are you going all the way back?
I'm all the way back.
Okay.
Philo is the first Jewish thinker.
Yeah.
And the first great Jewish thinker. Then I would put Saadia Gaon on my list.
Fair enough.
I would put Spinoza on my list, even though he got excommunicated. That wasn't his fault. That was the fault of the world he was born into.
Okay.
Because Spinoza, and then in terms of the moderns, believe it or not, absolutely Ben Azai among the rabbis.
Yeah, well, see, the rabbis are
Ben
hard.
Azai
Yeah.
I put on the list because
Right.
he's the one who taught the reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself.
So I don't know if I would choose a rabbi, but I would choose that generation. Ben Azai ben
That's fair.
Zoma, the four, Ben Azai ben Zoma, Rabbi Akiva, and Acher.
The Pardes.
Yeah, the Pardes guys. 'Cause
Four
they-
rabbis who, Hagiga 14b.
Yeah, they launch.
There'll be a test. Read that.
Right, they launched the Mishnaic tradition.
Yes.
And they, first of all, they're living in the worst moment. I mean, between the destruction of the temple and the horror of the Bar Kokhba revolt and the following persecution, but they launch the project. It's interesting that certain generations have collections of guys, of geniuses, who launch great human projects, and this was a generation that launched a project.
That's fair. I would
Yeah.
put all four of them on.
Yeah.
I would put. I would put some of the founders of the reform and conservative movements.
That's interesting.
Because after all, 1824 comes, Abraham Geiger all of a sudden says, there has to be another, in Frankfurt, Germany, there has to be another way. It can't just be orthodoxy. The modern world doesn't allow us to have a medieval Judaism enter the modern world. There has to be a modern Judaism. And that will require, and all the attacks, some of them very legitimate, most of them I wielded myself, about Reform Judaism and its thinness and its anti-halachic stance. It's fine, but the truth of the matter is, we were the ones who brought to Judaism the idea that change is not an enemy of Judaism. That you can have constructive change if it brings the values of Judaism into the practice of Judaism. And that will require organ music in the synagogue, riding your car to synagogue if you can't walk 5 miles to synagogue. It will require Friday night services so that you can work on Saturday in a country that had blue laws that prohibited you working on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I would put Kaufman Kohler on the list. I would.
Interesting.
They were not Zionists. They were, very, very anti-halachic.
Yeah. Interesting.
Temple Emmanuel in New York, didn't have a Torah for a whole bunch of years. And on the Yom Kippur, they had the first chair trumpeter of the New York Philharmonic blowing the shofar calls. I understand, and they were open to Sunday Vesper services. They never initiated them, but they were an inch away from doing it. But the truth of the matter is, they started a revolution within Judaism
Right.
that produced the conservative movement as well.
See, I'm not sure that I would put Mordechai Kaplan on the list, but I embrace him for this one perception, which is that we have to have a Judaism that is compatible with modernity, and there are multiple ways of interpreting the Jewish connection. So I'm not sure, as a theologian, I think he leaves a lot to be desired. I think that Rabbi Schulweis
Do you
is much
believe
better
that Kaplan believed in God?
Yeah, very much so. But I think what's more important than his belief in God, he would say, is his belief in peoplehood, is the whole language of peoplehood. But even more than the language of peoplehood, much like you said, the reformers, he said, modernity is here. You can't run away from it. You can't deny it exists. You can't go on practicing the Judaism of pre-modernity. In the time of modernity, you need a Judaism that fits modernity. And I think that conviction, again, in other words, I like the question he asked. I'm not sure I like the answer he gave.
That's a good
Right?
way to say it.
I like the fact that he forced his students, he forced the generations, at least at JTS, to confront modernity. To really, modernity is here. And I mean, my years at JTS were very tumultuous years because we were confronting feminism, we were confronting LGBTQ rights, we were confronting all of these things. And there was this, the argument was, you can't turn away. You can't say these things don't exist. You can't see the world as if you haven't opened your eyes to these things. Douglas, what do you want to say?
When you're talking about Jewish thinkers,
Yeah.
you have to address post-Shoah, because if you don't address that, everything else goes by the wayside.
Yeah,
Why
but
don't you listen
all right. So
to
Douglas's,
Shoah's-
you don't have a micro. Douglas's point is that we have to, if you're going to talk about the great thinkers who have shaped Judaism, have answered the Torah's question. See, what we're talking about here is the Torah asks a question. Moses says to God,
Show me your presence.
Hareini et kvodecha, show me who you are.
Yeah.
Show me your essence. And what we've said, what Rabbi Gelman has asked us to think about is, who are the great thinkers in the course of Jewish history who have answered that question best? And we both agree Maimonides is at the top of the list. Sadia Gaon, Philo, the rabbis of the Mishnah, top of the list. We talked about some modern theologians, Buber, Rosenzweig, Heschel, Kaplan, who have attempted, and we have some disagreements about who, which one of those are top of the list and which are a little bit below. So Douglas,
Post-Shoah, there's only one name that comes up.
Douglas is asking the question. You have to think about how the Holocaust has impacted our thinking
Right.
about God. So Douglas's question is, who has answered the question, Hareini et kvodecha, show me your glory, show me your essence, God, after the Holocaust? Who's done it well? And we're going to say is,
Two names.
yeah,
Michael Wishegrad and Emil Fackenheim.
yeah. Well, you see, so we know who the names of the people who are working on or thinking about this, right? So Yitz Greenberg is someone. Harold Schulweis is someone. Harold Kushner, who wrote some wonderful things. And then, you see, but here the issue is, number one, is that we're still so close. We really haven't even decided what the story of the Holocaust is yet. Frankly, because we still have survivors living among us, and and out of respect for them, we haven't started to revise our thinking about what the story of the Holocaust is. What did it represent in Jewish history? How does it fit in the course of Jewish history? So I think you have to, all of these thinkers are wonderful, but you also have to look to people that have gone in some ways beyond philosophy. I mean, Elie Wiesel, as a storyteller, it's a different idiom to describe, right? In a certain way, I'll give you another one, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and because his answer,
I would put him on the list.
not as a philosophical figure, although his philosophy is quite profound, but as an actor in history, right? I would put David Ben-Gurion. The notion is, all right, I can't tell you what God is after the Holocaust, but I know what I need to do in the name of God after the Holocaust. I need to create a place in the world where a Jew can be safe.
I don't know. I don't put Ben Gurion on because...
As an actor, not as a philosopher.
Right, because he believed in Netzach Yisrael, the spirit of the people.
Well,
he didn't believe in God that way.
But I think he's doing God. He's embodying God in a certain way. And that's...
Well, this comes then to the question that comes from the question.
Because the bodhisattva isn't just somebody who teaches a philosopher. The bodhisattva is a person who lives a kind of life that lets you know, in our language, that there's a tzaddik, that there's a God in the world.
Right. Okay, so here's the point. The point is that if I were to list Christian theologians,
Yeah.
I could list 1,000 of them and not even get out of the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Important ones.
Well, because belief and belief in theology means more
don't have
than that.
1,000 names in the entire history of Judaism, of Jewish thinkers, public intellectuals, theologians. We don't have 1,000 names
Because we're
in
not
our entire... Right, because we're not... The question is, why is the project of going up the mountain not a Jewish project?
No, I'm going to disagree with you, dear teacher, because because we adopted this idea, the idea that's given here. You're going up the mountain. We invite you to go up the mountain. Maimonides is going up the mountain. You can go with Maimonides, or you can go on your own. You can go up the mountain. But once you get to the top of the mountain, or get close, then I need you to come back down.
I agree.
I need you to live in the world and live a godly life in the world. And so instead of theology, contemplating the nature and essence of God in the world, we created halakha. We created a way of living in the world.
That's
so
fine.
I can't give you 1,000 names of theologians, but I can give you 1,000 names of great rabbis who taught halakha.
Right,
who
I
taught
could
law.
too.
Because this is the answer. The Torah's answer is, look,
I
can't describe to you what Moses saw. I can't. But I can tell you the way you need to live in the world because there's a God there, because there's a God at the top of the mountain.
Okay, there's a limit to what...
Not at the top of the mountain, because you have to bring God into the world.
I get that, and I agree with that. The problem is that there is a limitation to halakha.
Yeah.
A really severe limitation.
Okay.
And that limitation is that it's built for a universe in which Jews live in a seamless Jewish environment.
Okay.
It's built for a world in which the law, the civil law, tort law, damages, everything, is all dealt with by rabbis and the halacha.
Yes.
Once that world collapses,
right,
and the role of the halacha in people's lives collapses.
Becomes Dalet Amot, becomes a small domain. Right?
And that, I think, is the crisis of Jewish life right now.
Yeah.
We have synagogues that are either anti-halachic in the Reform movement, trying to make this amalgam in the conservative movement, but people really aren't going to live by the law. They're not going to live by it because the laws of damages are the laws of the state of California here. The laws in Baba Metzia, which begins Shnayim Ochsim B'Talis V'Yachloku, two guys both grab the same talis, and so what do? They divide it. Has no meaning for this come back to the people, do it with the people. So my question is, can we revive theology? Can we revive the quest to learn more about God? Just this one point, that death is not the end of us, and that people need to hear that. You know about my missionary zeal on this.
Yes, I've watched it.
You know, so I believe that's a theological effort. It's not a halachic effort. There's nothing I'm teaching when I tell people about the world to come and about Gan Eden and about death is not the end of us. There's nothing I'm teaching them that's halachic. It's about our beliefs that life doesn't end at the grave, that a form of life continues on beyond it. So my appeal and my question to you is, because you are capable of and you have produced real theological works of brilliance, and you have done that. And my question is who, and in the Hartman Institute, you study, and there's other people in Israel who are interesting, who are doing some work. Mm-hmm. Some of my teachers, you know, Yirmiyahu Yovel and others, you know, were very interesting teachers for me. But the question is, can Jews embrace beliefs? And if we, aside from the law will embrace or not embrace based on however we decide to live our lives.
Right.
But the question is, what about our beliefs?
Right.
What about our beliefs? You can't just say, Jews come to shul to daven. That's what we do. We keep kosher. That's what we do. That won't work for another generation.
Yeah.
If you have a belief system that connects you to God in some way, that's equal to a halachic system that connects you to God. And I am just making an appeal, that's all. An appeal that through our history, it's not like we've had no Jewish theologians. We've had some, and some great ones. But we need more. And we need to revive a variety of things. The art of Midrash, which I've worked on in my life, and the art of theology.
So, but let's just, that last thing, I mean, that was beautiful. Maybe for this moment in history, as Douglas said, post-Shoah, which we still haven't resolved the catastrophe and the trauma of Shoah, maybe in the light of a state of Israel that's sovereign and struggling to figure out its identity, maybe in this environment of American freedom, where we're trying to figure out exactly, what does it mean to be an individual in a sovereign in a democracy.
Right.
Maybe the idiom isn't theology as much as it is story, as much as there are other ways of expressing and sharing these ideas, these ways of being in the world. I mean, it's ironic, we're reading a story here. It's not a theology. It's not a discursive theology. It's a story about a man at a moment of his own personal religious crisis. And then you could hear the anguish of the storyteller reaching the limits of his idiom, where he's telling you, now go do theology, because I can't tell you anything else.
Right.
But I want you to know this, whatever theology you create, you got to come back to the world. And you got to come back to the world with a set of ethics. You got to come back to the world and behave in a certain way. I mean, as I resonate with this, because I just finished this book on Rabbi Schulweis, and in many ways that was his notion, right? He completely pushed away metaphysics. And I didn't talk about metaphysics, but how the universe is set up. For him, it's really a question of what God lives inside of you and how you behave that way in the world. But now go do the metaphysics, but maybe doing it in the form of storytelling. Maybe doing it in the form of
Well, there's
poetry.
another form, and I think we've ignored it.
Yeah.
I think there are active theologians working right now in Judaism.
Yeah.
I certainly don't agree with all of them, but I admire their work.
Yeah.
Jewish women. Jewish women are writing the theology of Judaism today.
Yeah.
Their work, Rachel Adler and others, and Aviva Zornberg and others, who really touches both Midrash and theology.
Yes.
What they're doing is they're saying our belief in God needs to be informed by our identity as women.
Right.
And Judaism needs to be informed by our struggles as women to feel an equality of this journey up the mountain.
Right.
And they are doing it. They are the most vibrant theological force in Judaism today are Jewish women. And that includes Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
The woman you had the other day?
Yeah.
Nechama.
Yeah.
These are the people who are really the point of the spear.
Right. Rachel Adler's and Judith Plaskow's notion that the very language you use when you say God is He, you've already imposed a whole set of assumptions.
Right.
And then you're right. So feminist theologians, and not just feminist theologians, but women who bring their own experience to the fashioning of a Jewish thought.
But I think we're beyond a feminist thing now.
Well, we're
I think we
beyond,
can now move to what can all of us learn about
Constructivist, the construction of theology.
You talk about theology through storytelling.
Yeah.
3 weeks from now,
Yeah.
you're telling the greatest story ever told.
Yeah.
And isn't that theology through storytelling?
So Douglas's point is that 3 weeks from now, when we sit at the Seder table, we're not going to discuss theology, we're going to tell a story. That story contains a theology. The theology is really a secondary art, because you're pulling out of narrative and you're pulling out of experience the assumptions and the conclusions, and trying to phrase them in a certain quality of language, a certain kind of language. And you're right, there is a tremendous theology there. And the problem, of course, and we'll spend some time, unfortunately, if we're doing this, we'll spend some time in weeks to come to go through this. The problem is that the theology of the Seder, on the one hand, we deeply need it, especially now. We deeply need to have some faith that history will have a redemptive end. But after the Shoah, it's so painfully difficult to tell that story. And so, almost impossible. So, it's like the matzah that gets stuck in your throat. It's dry and it's hard and it's painful. And the question is, how do you reconcile the God you meet in the Haggadah and the God we meet in Eli Wiesel? And that's going to be something we need to talk about. Gentlemen, it's time to say good Shabbos. Ladies and gentlemen at home, we wish you a good Shabbos, a wonderful week. Stay home, take care of each other, take care of yourself. During the course of the week, you'll see that Valley Beth Shalom is going to be offering many opportunities to connect. There'll be words of the rabbis, stories for kids, music from the cantors and our other artists here, and other opportunities to connect with us. We wish you a good Shabbos and a very, very peaceful and healthy week. Take care.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, turn off the microphone. Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
When you say that with the story,
אל הר סיני כאשר ציווה אדוני אותו ויקח בידו שני לוחות אבנים וירד אדוני בענן ויתייצב עמו שם ויקרא בשם אדוני ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא אדוני אדוני אל רחום וחנון ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת נוצר חסד לאלפים נושא עוון ופשע וחטאה ונקה לא ינקה פוקד עוון אבות על בנים ועל בני בנים על שילשים ועל ריבעים
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Aliyah number 6 will be top of page 542. Ta'amot ארי בת משה ושרון לעלייה שישית. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. וימהר משה ויקוד ארצה וישתחו ויאמר אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך אדוני ילך נא אדוני בקרבנו כי עם כשורפו וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ונחלתנו ויאמר הנה אנוכי כורת ברית נגד כל עמך אעשה נפלאות אשר לא נבראו בכל הארץ ובכל הגויים וראה כל העם אשר אתה בקרבו את מעשה אדוני כי נוראו אשר אני עושה עמך.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
For the seventh Aliyah, Mark will be doing the blessings up here on the bima, but we'd like to invite everyone to join in. because this is a very different Shabbat and also in honor of Rabbi Silverman. If everyone will please rise and join in for the seventh Aliyah with Mark.
Baruch et Adonai Amorach, Baruch Adonai Amorach leolam va'ed,
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את תורתו. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. שמור לך את אשר אנוכי מצווך היום. הנני גורש מפניך את האמורי והכנעני והחיתי והפריזי והחיבי והיבוסי. הישמר לך, פן תכרות ברית ליושב הארץ אשר אתה בעליה, פן יהיה למוקש בקרבך. כי את מצוותיהם תצוצון, ואת מצבותם תשברון, ואת אשריו תכרותון.
together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam natan betochenu. Baruch atah Shmo, ten haTorah.
Please remain standing one more moment. This morning we celebrate Rabbi Silverman's third bar mitzvah, right? Is that what it is? Because it's the next 13 years. And it is our privilege. Had he been here as a bar mitzvah boy, we would offer him a blessing. So together we offer our teacher and friend Hillel a wonderful blessing on behalf of the family that loves you, on behalf of all the communities here and at Sinai and at Greenwich and in San Diego and across the world and Dallas, who have learned with you and shared your Torah and shared your compassion and your strength. And on behalf of all of us rabbis who you mentored and taught and raised up to teach the people of Israel, I'll stand in their place and offer you our blessings and our thanks and our gratitude and our prayers. Mishaberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. Hu yivarech et Rabbeinu Morenu Reb Hillel, shall Allah lichvod hamakom, lichvod haTorah, v'lichvod haShabbat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishmor alav, v'yishlach lo hatzlacha, briut ubracha, b'chol ma'aseh yadav, and kol Yisrael achav v'nomar amen. May the source of blessings for all the generations of our ancestors bless and protect and sustain and uplift and elevate our teacher, Rabbi Hillel, who has come before this community as a bar mitzvah, now the third time in his life. May God continue to grant him Torah, the strength of mind and power of conscience to lead the people of Israel. May God grant him simcha, the joy to be with his family and those he loved. May God grant him hatzlacha, power and strength and gvura and health and goodness to share with us many, many more simchas in the years to come. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh amen. Mazel tov. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yeheilanu, 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 ulechol Yisrael, oh yeheilanu, yeheilanu. Lechol Yisrael, Hoy David Melech Yisrael, Chai v'kayam. David Melech Yisrael, Chai v'kayam. Yishkoch, Mazel Tov. Till the next bar mitzvah.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעולמה דברה חירותי, בהמליך מלכותי, בחייך וביום נכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה, ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם מעולמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעול, ויאמרו אמן. יעמדו המגביה והגוללת לספר ראשון, וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בן ישראל, על פי אדוני ליד משה.
Please be seated. Before we read the maftir, in 1937, when Rabbi Hillel stood before a congregation to have his bar mitzvah, as we ask our kids, he made a bar mitzvah speech. You want to do it? Come on up, come on up, come on up. So I'm going to ask his daughter, Sherry, to read his bar mitzvah speech, because this would be the point in the service, just before the reading of the maftir, that he would give his speech.
Okay, thanks. So this is my dad's bar mitzvah speech from 1937. So he's a little man. This is his shirt from last bar mitzvah when he was 83. Dear friends, yesterday they predicted 10 inches of snow for today, Hartford, Connecticut. I hoped that only a few would come today because I was very nervous about reading the entire Sedra, the Haftorah, and in English and in Hebrew making an address. It would be easier with just a few people. And now I see the synagogue is filled with people, virtually. And 83 years later, it's not a snowstorm, it's a different kind of storm. Coronavirus, keeping people away. I thank you for being here today. I want to thank my mother and father who have always supported and encouraged me. I want to thank my brothers, Arthur and Elihu, and my teachers and my friends. We read in today's Sedra Ki Tisa that Moses wanted to take a census to count the children of Israel. He did this in a very strange way. Instead of counting heads, each person brought 1/2 shekel, and Moshe counted them. Why? To show that he counted only those who could give. Who would bring a shekel? Who would contribute? Who would sacrifice? Who would give of himself? Moshe counted only those who counted. Today, I am counted as a Jew. My friends at their bar mitzvah say, today I'm a man. But really? At 13, I have a long way to go. Go figure, 96. But today, I do count as a Jew. I can be counted for a minyan, and I can be a part of a quorum. I can count for my responsibility as a Jew. My parents and teachers taught me how to count as a Jew, how to be honest and kind and considerate. Last year, my brothers and I went to Palestine for a year. We were students in a public school. We learned how to speak Hebrew. I will never forget how my father taught me my bar mitzvah, the Torah reading, and the Haftorah, and the prayers. We sat together every evening on the balcony in Tel Aviv. My parents count on me to do well at my bar mitzvah. They count on me to get good grades at school and go to college. Yeah, I guess he did. The people count on me to be proud and loyal to the Jews. My God counts on me to live a good and ethical life. My brothers and sisters in Palestine count on me to sacrifice and help them build a Jewish homeland. I only wish for my bar mitzvah one day there can be a place for the Jews to call home. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its cunning. Today I'm not a man, but today I am beginning to count.
We're going to read the Maftir and Haftarah, and before we do Musaf, we're going to ask the Bar Mitzvah boy to give us another speech. Once every decade, is a good thing. So we want to wish Rabbi Hillel and all of his family all of our love and our respect and our brachas as he becomes a Bar Mitzvah now this third time. The Maftir Aliyah for Parshas Para is on page 880, beginning with verse 1.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. וידבר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון לאמור, זאת חוקת התורה אשר ציווה אדוני לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ויקחו אליך פרה אדומה תמימה אשר אין בה מום, אשר לא עלה עליה עול, ונתתם אותה אל אלעזר הכהן, והוציא אותה אל מחוץ למחנה, ושחט אותה לפניו, ולקח אלעזר הכהן מדמה באצבעו, והיזה אל נוכח פני אוהל מועד מדמה 7 פעמים, ושרף את הפרה לעיניו, את עורבת ושרף את דמה על פרשה ישרוף.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. יעמדו
We rise once again and say for Torah.
והגולה לספר שני. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה
לפני בני
Yisrael
על ידו
ביד.
ביד משה.
Please be seated. We'd like to thank Marcy and Carol and Yossi, of course, and Nancy for reading the Torah for us this morning. This morning you'll find the Haftarah on page 1287 from the prophet Yechezkel. There are a series of special Shabbatot that lead us from the end of winter into Pesach. The purpose of these Haftarot is very important. We have 3 festivals in the Torah, 3 festivals called Chagim, when we are commanded to make pilgrimage to Yerushalayim. But Sukkot, no one could make pilgrimage because Sukkot was the beginning of the rainy season in Israel, and if you made the pilgrimage, you probably wouldn't be able to get back because the rains would come and wash out the roads. And Shavuos, nobody could make pilgrimage because you're in the middle of a harvest, and it was impossible to set aside the needs of the farm in order to make the pilgrimage. And Pesach was the exact perfect time because the weather clears up, the sun shines. It's actually, in truth, the most beautiful time of year to be in Israel, as all the beautiful wildflowers come out with the springtime. Pesach was the preeminent pilgrimage holiday. And we know that Jews in the Second Temple period, Jews from around the world, around the Mediterranean, as far west as Spain and Britain, and as far east as India and Afghanistan, would actually make pilgrimage to Yerushalayim. According to the historian Josephus, the population of Jerusalem was about 10,000 under normal circumstances, but it would swell tenfold to 100,000 during the holiday of Pesach. And this idea of pilgrimage is a beautiful thing. If you think about what this must have been like, if you're a Jew living, say, in Europe, or you were a Jew living in North Africa, or you were a Jew living in Afghanistan, or in Iraq, or in Iran, and you began the pilgrimage, groups of families, groups of people from those communities would begin walking on the roads, weeks and weeks and weeks before Pesach. And as you got closer and closer to the land of Israel, as you got closer to Jerusalem, you would meet groups from other places. And what would it be like to be a Jew, say, from Iran, hooking up with Jews from Iraq and Jews from what's now Jordan and Jews from Turkey and Jews from Syria and Jews from India, and as a bigger group coming close to Eretz Yisrael, and then meeting Jews from Europe and Jews from Africa and Jews from every corner of the known world, and together walking up the roadway, up the mountain, up to Jerusalem. This remarkable sense of Am Yisrael, this remarkable sense of Me'arba Kanfot Haaretz, from the four corners of the world, we are gathered in order to worship God and celebrate the Pesach. So in order to capture this, especially after the temple was destroyed and we stopped making the pilgrimage, what the rabbis did was give us these special Shabbatot to mark the sort of stations of the pilgrimage as we get closer to Pesach, as we get closer to our goal. And this morning is Parshat Parah. The Parah Adumah, the red heifer, was a special sacrifice offered in order to purify people so that they were able to participate in the rites of the Holy Temple. And you'll find the Haftarah with its promise of purity on page 1287, and we'll ask Cantor Barron to read for us. So at the beginning of the Pesach season, it's don't go to the market this week. It's nuts out there. But when things do calm down, it's time to start thinking about where you're going to get your matzah and where you're going to get your charoset and where you're going to get the victuals for your Pesach Seder, and how many people will come to the home, and God willing, we'll all be healthy and able to gather on Pesach to celebrate. Page 1287.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar binvim tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah, u'Moshe avdo, u'Yisrael amo, u'vinviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayehi devar Adonai elai lemor, ben Adam beit Yisrael yoshevim al admatam, vayetamu ota bedarkam uva'alilotam ketumat hanida hayeta darkam lefanai, va'eshpoch chamati alehem al adavar asher shofchu al haaretz uvgilu lehem timuha. Va'afitzotam bagoyim vayizaru ba'aratzot, kedarkam v'cha'alilotam shifattim, vayavo el hagoyim asher va'o sham, vayechalelu et shem kodshi, be'emor lahem Amadonai ele ume'artzo yatzau, va'echmol al shem kodshi asher chilelu beit Yisrael bagoyim asher ba'u shama. Lachen emor lebeit Yisrael, ko amar Adonai Elohim lo lema'anchem ani oseh beit Yisrael, ki im l'shem kodshi asher chilaltem bagoyim asher batem sham, v'kidashti et shemi hagadol hamechulal bagoyim asher chilaltem בתוכם, וידעו הגויים, כי אני אדוני, נאום אדוני אלוהים, בהיקדשי בכם לעיניהם. ולקחתי אתכם מן הגויים, וקיבצתי אתכם מכל הארצות, והבאתי אתכם אל אדמתכם, וזרקתי עליכם מים טהורים, ותרתם מכל תומותיכם, ומכל גילוליכם אטהר אתכם, ונתתי לכם לב חדש, ורוח חדשה אתן בקרבכם, והסירותי את לב האבן מבשרכם, ונתתי לכם לב בשר, ואת רוחי אתן בקרבכם, ועשיתי את אשר בחוקי תלכו, ומשפטי תשמרו ועשיתם. וישבתם בארץ אשר נתתי לאבותיכם, והייתם לי לעם, ואנוכי אהיה לכם לאלוהים. והושעתי אתכם מכל תומותיכם, וקראתי אל הדגן, והרביתי אותו, ולא אתן עליכם רעב. והרביתי את פרי העץ ותנובת השדה, למען אשר לא תיקחו עוד חרפת רעב בגויים. וזכרתם את דרכיכם הרעים ומעלליכם אשר לא טובים, ונקוטותם בפניכם על עוונותיכם ועל תועבותיכם. לא למענכם אני עושה נאום אדוני אלוהים, יוודע לכם. בושו והיקלמו מדרכיכם בית ישראל. כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, ביום טהרי אתכם מכל עוונותיכם, והושבתי את ההרים ונבנו החורבות, והארץ הנשמה תאבד תחת אשר הייתה שממה לעיני כל עובר. ואמרו הארץ הלזו הנשמה הייתה כגן עדן, והערים החורבות, והנשמות והנהרסות בצורות ישבו. וידעו הגויים אשר ישארו סביבותיכם, כי אני אדוני בניתי הנהרסות נתתי הנשמה. אני אדוני דיברתי ועשיתי. כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, וירש לבית ישראל לעשות להם הרבה אותם כצאן אדם, כצאן קודשים, כצאן ירושלים במועדיה, כן תהיינה הערים החורבות מלאות צאן אדם, וידעו כי אני אדוני. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ונאמנים דבריך, ודבר אחד מדבריך, אחור לא ישוב ריקם, כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו. רחם על ציון, כי היא בית חיינו, ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני, משמח ציון בבניה. שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו, באליהו הנביא עבדך, ובמלכות בית דוד משיחך. במהרה יבוא ויגל ליבנו, על כיסו לא ישב זר, ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יכבה נרו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן דוד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. Yishkoach to the cantor, and thank you so very, very, very much. Please return to the blue prayer book and join me on page 149, a prayer for the state of Israel and a prayer for peace. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Gulatenu. Hagein Aleha bevrat chazdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha v'amitcha l'roshecha sarecha v'yoatzecha. V'tachnem b'yetzat tova milfanecha, Chazek yityenem miginei aretz kodshenu, V'anchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, V'yateret nitzachom ta'atrem, V'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam liyoshvecha v'nomar amen. May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the world. Then nation will not threaten nation, and mankind will not again know war. For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We've come into being to praise, to labor, and to love. Compassionate God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion. Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture, I will bring peace to the land. You shall lie down and no one shall terrify you. I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and it shall not be ravaged by war. Let love and justice flow like a mighty stream. Let peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea, and let us pray. Amen. We take a moment to pray for friends and family who are ill, who are in hospital, or who suffer this Shabbos, and again for everyone who has been afflicted by this virus, and all of those families who have been affected, we pray for them as well. Mishaberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah, hu yivarech v'yarped kol hacholim b'kilatenu hakdosha. May you, who blessed our ancestors at the sea and in the desert, bless all our ill friends through us, your witnesses. Give us the wisdom to impart to them courage and hope. May they know they have in this holy community men, women, and children who pray for the skill of the physician, who pray for their recovery of body and wholeness of spirit. Teach us to remember your words. From the void and the vastness of the darkness, let there be light, and let us pray all together. Amen. The service continues, page 151. Samuel will lead us in Ashrei.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Od Yahalu Chasela Ashrei Shekachalo Ashrei Shena Yelohav Tehila LeDavid Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech Barvachashim Chalelam Vaed Choyam Avarcheka Ve'alashim Chalelam Vaed Gadol Adonai Hulam Meod Ve'ligdulato En Cheker Adonai Shamach Masecha Ugurotecha Yagidu Hadar Kevod Hodecha V'divrei Nifleotecha Asicha Zuznotecha Yomeru Ugdulacha Asaprena Zecher Rav Tuvcha Yabiu V'tzidkatcha Yiranenu Rachum Adonai Erech Apayim Ugdochasen Tov Adonai Lakol V'rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav Chanai Kol Ma'asecha V'chasidecha Yivarchucha Kevod Malchutcha Yomeru Ugvuratcha Yidaberu V'yadinei Yadam Grotav V'chod Adar Malchuto Malchutcha Malchut Kol Amim Umemshaltecha Bechol Dor Vador Techanai V'chol Noflim Skip V'chol HaKufim Einecho Elecha Yisaberu Ve'ata Noten Lahem Et Ocham Ba'ito Yachet Yadecha Masiya L'chocha Eranso Tzadik Adonai Bechol Derachav V'chasid Bechol Ma'asav Adonai L'chol Korah Chol Asher Yikra L'Ve'et Retzon Yurei Av Yaseh Ve'et Shavatam Yishma V'yoshiyem Shanai L'chol Kvar Shayim Yashri Tehilat Adonai Yedaber Pi Vivarech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Le'olam Va'ed V'anachnu Nevarechya Me'ata V'yad Olam Hallelujah.
Rise together, page 153, the service returning the Sifrei Torah.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskal Shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren lehamo, tehila lechol chasido, livnei Yisrael, am kerovo, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai B'Nelim, Havul Adonai Kavod Va'oz, Havul Adonai Kevod Shemo, Hishtachavu Adonai Behadrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai Al Hamayim, El HaKavod Hirim, Adonai Al Mayim Rabim. Kol Adonai Ba'akovach, Kol Adonai Behadar, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vaishaber Adonai Et Arzei Halvanon, Vayarkidem Kemo Egel, Lebanon Vasirion, Kemo Ven Reimim. Kol Adonai Chotsev Lavotesh, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yechol Elayalot, Vayechasov Yeharot, Uvehechalo Kulo Meher Kavod. Adonai Lamabul Yashav, Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Oz Leamo Yitein, Adonai Yevarech Et Amo Vashalom. Eitz Chaim Hi Lamach mazikim ba v'tomchecha meushar derachecha darcheno v'chol nativotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
Good. Shabbat Shalom. So you all know that a young man celebrates his bar mitzvah, young woman celebrates her bar mitzvah at around age 13. And it's been our privilege at Valley Beth Shalom to celebrate many, many, many b'nai mitzvah and to welcome many young people into the bonds of our community. According to the Torah, the lifespan of a human being is 70 years. So if you get 70 and you live 13 more years, it's become a lovely custom in the community to celebrate a second bar mitzvah at 83. And we've had the zchut, we've had the honor of celebrating with many members of our community a second bar mitzvah at the age of 83. This is a first. What happens if you go 13 more years? Right? If you have the power and the strength, the gvura, to be able to be with your family at the age of 96. And not just anyone at the age of 96, but we have a teacher of Torah, a great scholar, a wonderful, wonderful rabbi, and a dear, dear friend. Rabbi Hillel Silverman this year celebrates his 96th birthday, and today is the anniversary of his third bar mitzvah that he celebrated in 1937 in West Hartford. Is that where it was? West Hartford. And we are honored, all of us. I just mentioned to Rabbi Silverman, he's been a rabbi a lot longer than me, but between us, I can never remember a time when rabbis were told to tell their congregation not to come to shul. So it just shows you that God has a very funny sense of humor, right? And I want you to look around, and I want you to see that even though I told them not to come to shul, they came to shul. These stiff-necked Jews, right? Well, we're delighted you're all here, and stay healthy and stay well. It is a privilege to ask Rabbi Silverman to share a few words. It's a privilege to be with you, to share these wonderful simchas, to have your family with you, kids and grandkids, and we care for you very, very much. You know that. And I'll give you the microphone and share with us a few words of Torah.
Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Feinstein. Very, very dear friend and a very distinguished colleague. And you are so fortunate to have Ed as your rabbi, following another outstanding rabbi, Harold Schulweiss. Thank you very much, Rabbi Feinstein. Thank you very much, Yossi Dresden. I am deeply touched. This is a day I'll never forget. It's a milestone. You know, a bar mitzvah is a milestone. We all remember, don't we? Our bar mitzvah, well, if we were bar mitzvah, distinctly. Graduating college is a red letter day you don't forget. Getting married, having a child, moving to Encino. These are days you never forget. They're very, very precious. And I remember so distinctly what happened 83 years ago in 1927. 1927. Wait a minute. 1937. I remember it distinctly. I remember that my father, Alav Shalom, was a rabbi of a very large congregation, as large as Valley Beth Shalom. I thought the whole world would be at bar mitzvah, and I was really, really nervous. Let there be a blizzard, and there was. There was a blizzard the day of my bar mitzvah, and I was so thankful. And I came to shul, and you know what? It was filled to capacity. And I remember it so distinctly. I was in Palestine for a year. That was not Israel, Palestine for a year before my bar mitzvah with my parents, and I was in public school. My parents wanted me to learn how to speak Hebrew, so they put me in Palestine for a year. And I remember so vividly my father teaching me in Palestine, second floor of our apartment on Rehov Yonah Navi. And he taught me, and I read the entire Torah. And it was a long one. I think it's one of the longest of the year. And taught me the Torah reading, the Haftorah, speech in English, speech in Hebrew, and the congregation was filled to capacity. And it's something that I'll never forget. My father was a great collector. He would collect everything. And he collected a list of all my presents that I received. I looked it over this morning. Unusual presents, fountain pens. You know, in those days, presents were fountain pens, 13 fountain pens, books, a number of books. One of them was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a red tie. I have a whole list. And I also have an article that appeared in the newspaper. That was in 83 years ago. And I want my granddaughter, Ari, where are you? Would you read this short article that appeared in the newspaper when I was bar mitzvah? Would you come here? It's not in Hebrew, it's in English.
Okay, Hillel Silverman's bar mitzvah rites held at synagogue. Religious ceremonies in morning followed by evening reception. The bar mitzvah, meaning son of commandment, ceremony and reception were held Saturday at Emmanuel Synagogue for 13-year-old Hillel Silverman, son of Rabbi and Mrs. Morris Silverman of the synagogue. Religious ceremonies were held Saturday morning, followed by reception in the evening, in which 3 organizations in the synagogue participated. Under direction of Mrs. Dora Mitnick-Mayhoon, the Young People's Dramatic Club presented tableaux depicting the various episodes in the life of a young man from birth to marriage. Then the Emmanuel Choral Group, directed by Miss Rose Lichner, sang. And afterwards, the Sisterhood of the synagogue presented a pageant written by Mrs. Silverman. It was directed by Mrs. Lewis Law. During the day, Hillel was presented with a certificate from the Hartford Zionist District stating that 13 trees had been planted in the George Washington Forest in Palestine in honor of the bar mitzvah. The procedure, Rabbi Silverman said, was not ordinary.
Thank you, Ari. I'm deeply grateful that I had a second bar mitzvah, as Rabbi Feinstein explained, when I was 83. And it took place in Palm Springs. And we had, you remember that? All of them, my children, my grandchildren were there, and they conducted the service. We took over the chapel. And they read the Torah, they davened, they participated, and we had a great time. You remember that? And I was blessed. And now, 13 years later, at age 96, I'm blessed a third time. And I am so grateful for my family, for my children, for my grandchildren, for the synagogue that I now attend, for Valley Beth Shalom. And I look forward to a few more years. Usually when somebody says, how old are you, Hillel? 96. What do you say? Bis 120. 120. Why 120? Do you ever think about that? Because Moses lived to 120, and you should equal the number of years that Moses lived. Well, the bottom line is, I'm never satisfied. And when somebody says to me, bis 120, 120, you know what I say? Make it 121. It shouldn't come as a shock. Thank you very, very much.
So Hillel, as you well know, there is a beautiful story that is told in the Talmud about a rabbi who takes a walk one afternoon and finds a beautiful leafy tree. It's a warm, sunny afternoon. He finds a beautiful leafy tree that offers him shade and shelter. And he sits down beneath the tree and he takes a quiet little nap. And when he wakes up, he looks up into the branches of the tree and he says, "Dear tree, with what shall I bless you?" He says, "Shall I bless you with strong roots? You are deeply rooted in the earth. Shall I bless you with flowered fruitfulness? You are already so deeply fruitful. Shall I bless you with robust strength? You are powerful and stand here by the road with such power." And he turns to the tree and he says, "I bless you only with this, that the fruits, the children, the saplings that you give into the world should have as much blessing as you carry and share with the world." And dear Hillel, for all of the years that you have taught us and shared Torah with us, and as one of the kids who sat in Sinai Temple for USY and other activities you've taught me, and for all of the friends who have gathered around you and you've mentored and shared Torah with and comforted and taught, and for all of us that you have touched so deeply, with what shall we bless you? You have long years, God has blessed you. You have good strength and health, thank God. You've had accomplishment and accolades more than we could count. We only bless that the children and grandchildren, and one day, God willing, great-grandchildren that will come from you will have similar blessings of Torah, of kindness, of chesed, of goodness, of strength, of commitment, and of friendship. May your children and children's children and their children share the light that you've shared with us. And we offer you many, many blessings so that you should return to us simchas, many, many simchas in the years to come. The bracha, you know, when you stand in the presence of a scholar, is a beautiful bracha. It says, "Mechalek mechochmato lebasar v'dam," that God shares God's power of mind and heart and soul, God's wisdom with human beings. We say that in front of Rabbi Hillel, Baruch mechalek mechochmato lebasar v'dam. May God continue to give you the power to teach Torah. And all together we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu, lazman hazeh omein, mazel tov. And on behalf of the synagogue, we give you a free year in USY. You get a Kiddush cup and a tzedakah box. You probably have a large collection already, but we certainly give you all of our words of blessing. May the years to come be as wonderful and as glorious as you dream them to be. And may your family always find just great nachas. May you find great nachas from your family and great joy from the children and children's children you've brought to us. Many, many simchas. It is time to finish our service. Page 155. We're going to rise together and join the cantors in the prayers of Musaf.
Yitkadal ve'yikad Hashem me'rapa be'halma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon ufched chol beit Yisrael b'galav v'zman kariv ha'imaro Yehei shmei rava mevarach le'halamun al me'halmaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach Avitbar v'yitshomam yanaseh Avithador v'yit'ale v'yit'halal shemei dekudesha V'richu leila min kol v'shirata Tushpreda v'nechem ata Damiram v'yama v'himaru Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Hakol, Ve'Zocher Chastei Avot. ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי מתים אתה רע להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומציר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי לי לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, Sarve koder lai 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 hamakdishim shimcha makodesh lai 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 hamakdishim shimcha makodesh lai 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 kagatu bayan viecha v'karazel zeh ve'amar kadosh 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 Adonai tzvaot melech ol haaretz kevodo kevodo malei olam v'shartam shoalim zeh lazeh mikom kevodo leyomatam baruch yomeru baruch kevod Adonai ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד בבוקר בכל יום תמיד ערב בבוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים שמע ישראל Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshiachenu, Vehu Yashmienu, Berachamav, Shein Le'einei Kol Chai, Liot Lachem Le'Elohim. ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש קדושתך נקדיש לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
As you finish, you're welcome to be seated. We'll continue page 181.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמנו קודשו, בריחו לילה מן כל בירנה ושירת תתוש לך ונחמתה דמירם ימה והימרו, תקבל צלות הורה ורחון לכל ישראל קודם אבנו ושמי והימרו. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמי וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל והימרו, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ein keloheinu, ein kadoneinu, ein kemalkeinu, ein gemoshienu, mich Eloheinu, mich Adoneinu, mich kemalkeinu, mich gemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, nodel Adoneinu, nodel Malkeinu, nodel Moshienu. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adoneinu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adoneinu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shehiktiru Avoteinu Lefanecha et Ketoret Hasamim. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויסוד.
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויסוד הארץ, משה וקרוב שמיים.
ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
We'll ask those who recite Kaddish this Shabbos to please remain standing, as everyone else in the community is welcome to be seated. The names of those who were remembered by the Valley Beth Shalom community and its friends are listed in the synagogue program. We pray that their memories are a blessing to all who call them and all who recall them and bring them close. As well, this week our community notes with the deepest of sadness the passing of Toby Wiseman, mother of Carol Reisenfeld, Dr. Charles Wiseman, Adele and Peter Davidson, grandmother of 7. Toby was the oldest living member of our congregation. She was 103 and a half years old, lived a beautiful long life, and shared many, many sweet moments with the children and grandchildren and their children in our community, and we pray that she finds peace. We pray for the soul of Jeffrey Norton, husband of Judy Norton, father of Brett and Rita Norton, and grandfather of Molly. Jeff was an accomplished corporate attorney and a dear friend to many in the community. And we pray for the memory of Johann Simantov, husband of Suzanne and brother of Daniel and Sima and Arnold and Said. Mr. Simantov lost a battle with a destructive disease of his heart. And we pray that his family finds great strength and comfort in the love of their friends, this gathering of their community, and gathering of their children. The words of Kaddish, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, v'yalmad divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedech al Beit Yisrael, ba'galau v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiron be'alma v'yimru amen, yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen, oseh shalom b'mromav, huyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Please be seated for a moment. We want to wish you all good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to VBS. And those who are watching on the live stream, we wish you a good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom as well. It's a very strange time in our community, but we made a decision that the community needs to have prayer. So we decided to continue with the service. Those of you at home can't see, but we're in the sanctuary, and we're all spread out, so everyone's going to be healthy. And because of the crisis, the health crisis that is going on, there'll be no kiddush served here in the shul. There are, however, some humintosh left over, and they're in bags, and you can take them home with you and enjoy a little bit of Valley Beth Shalom sweetness on the way home. So please pick one up in the hallway on your way out. Out of respect and love for all of our members, all of our community, all of our friends, we have canceled all of the public events of the synagogue for this week and likely for the coming week, including all of our schools. The Valley Beth Shalom schools, the infant toddler program, the nursery program, preschool, the Valley Beth Shalom Day School, the Eitz Chaim Learning Center, the Our Space Learning Program, and the Teen Tuesdays Teen Program. They're all canceled for this coming week and will likely be canceled for the following week as well. As well, all of the events of the week, the Chazak programs, Lunch and Learns, excuse me, all the classes that are often, meetings that are usually offered, are also being canceled for this week. We're asking people to stay close to home, practice the kind of isolation, and try and slow the spread of the virus so that especially our older members and friends and members and friends who have compromised health will be protected during these next days to come. The only things that will be going on in the synagogue is that we will have daily minyan. Daily minyan on Sunday at 8:30 in the morning, on every weekday at 7:30 in the morning in the Weiner Chapel or in Sher Lapati. You'll come in and see where it is. As well, every evening at 6 o'clock, including this evening, tonight, at 6 o'clock. All of our services and every daily minyan is live streamed. So if anyone would like to stay home, you can turn on your computer and watch us on live stream. And the rabbis of Valley Beth Shalom, along with so many other rabbis across the country, have determined that if you turn on the live stream, you count in the minyan. If you need to say Kaddish, you can say it at home with our minyan. So put on your talis, put on your yarmulke, stand up when Yossi says to stand up and join us in saying Kaddish and join the minyan virtually. If you'd like to come in, you'll sit separated like we're doing today. You can bring a mask if you'd like. We have plenty of hand sanitizer, and you're welcome to come in and say Kaddish with us. Those are the only activities of the synagogue for this week, and we'll announce the same, I'm sure, for the following week, and we certainly pray that this crisis will lift in about a week or so, and then we'll be able to return to some normal life. But we're watching it week by week, day by day, to make sure that we protect our community. I know that being stuck at home alone is very difficult for many people. So all of you are going to get a phone call from Valley Beth Shalom, from one of our volunteers or one of our staff people, just to check on you, and you will be doing that over the course of the weeks as well. As well, if anybody who is at home and feeling anxious, the news is certainly anxiety-producing, making you feel uncomfortable, you want to talk to somebody, call the synagogue. One of the rabbis will take the call or will call you right back. Call the synagogue and we'll connect you with our counseling center. We have a marvelous counseling center with counselors, psychologists who are well-trained. They'll talk to you over the telephone. If you need an in-person conversation, we can arrange for that. But we'd like to at least reach out and talk to people and help them know that they're not alone, that there are many, many members of the community here to help. During the course of this week, because we're not having anything here at the synagogue, we're going to be broadcasting many, many different kinds of Jewish experiences. So there will be, and you'll get email about this, and you'll see this on the Valley Beth Shalom website as well. There's going to be children's stories, which I'm going to do. We're going to have rabbis' words. Rabbis and I are going to join in teaching. There'll be some teaching online. The cantors are producing music online, so you can listen to the cantors and to Jewish music. Cantor Fox is going to be teaching Yiddish each day, a little Yiddish class every day, starting with the word oi. This is the right word for the coronavirus. So every day you can learn a little Yiddish with Cantor Fox, learn some Torah with Rabbi Farkas, Rabbi Hoffman, Rabbi Taffin with me, learn some new music with the cantors. Every day we'll have stories for kids. We'll have lots of things being broadcast, being live streamed and archived and broadcast, so you can tune into us. We're calling this Valley Beth Shalom at Home, or Valley Beth Stay Home. And we want you to know that we're here for you, and we're still a community, even if we have to be virtual community as well. We wish everyone briut, good strength and health. Take care of each other, take care of yourself, be very cautious, and we hope that we're able to gather once again very soon to celebrate Shabbos and many simchas. Another Mazel Tov, Yasher Koch to Rabbi Silverman on this very sweet simcha. And your first bar mitzvah had a blizzard, and today we have a different kind of blizzard. Something about your bar mitzvah brings catastrophes, but it warms us to have you with us and to share Torah, and to Sherry and Mark, and to Gila and Mark, and to the kids, and to Johnny, and to all of the mishpacha. We wish you a wonderful simcha and hope it's a very special celebration for you all. Thank you to Yossi Dresner. He was once a soldier in the Israeli army. These things don't frighten him. So thank you for being resolute and strong. To Cantor Barron, to Chris Harden, of course to Samuel, to Dr. Ryder, to everyone who made our service wonderful today. I ask everyone to rise from your seats. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Hoy Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, le'dorotam berit olam, beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, u'vayom hashvi'i, u'vayom hashvi'i, Shabbat vayinafash, al ken berach Adonai, et yom ha-Shabbat vayikadshehu, savri rabotai v'rabotai, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Adon olam asher malach v'terem kol yitzir nivra ve'et nasav v'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'ho haya ve'ho hover ve'ho yiyeh B'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni lehamshir lo lehachbira b'li reshit b'li tachlit v'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra v'hu eli v'chai goali v'tzorchem li v'etzara v'hu nisi umanos li Menat kosi beyom ekra beyado afkid ruchi beyet ishan veyahira veyim rochi geviati Adonai li